Welcome to the Friday Casebook. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Lena. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine. Getting towards the end of the year, and great to see you.
Actually, we thought we said goodbye to the Brexit negotiations, but apparently we didn't. So what's going on?
We said our goodbyes too early, and but I think we have to take the advice of Charles Michel, the president of the EU Council. Yeah, so here's Charles Michel telling us to be calm, to stay calm while the talks build up to a climax, he says, and how you stay calm and build up to a climax at the same time, but I'm sure it's good advice. Of course, these titles that European leaders have are very confusing for the British, because normally we would call this person the chair of the European Council, but of course, in translation from the French, it's president. So the British think of him as a president. They don't want to have a president of the European Council. They want him to be the chair, but he is the chair. And he's fine. I don't understand what the Brits' problem is with, I don't think they have a problem with him. I mean, he's a former Prime Minister of Belgium. I mean, okay, that's a good thing to have done. I don't know if people know who the current Prime Minister of Belgium is, but if they don't, I can tell them. It's Alexander De Croo. And that was after a year's negotiations between the parties, which ended up with the so-called Vivaldi coalition, called Vivaldi after the Four Seasons. Sounds like a pizza, but it's not, or a beautiful concert. I wonder what tune one would think of about the Brexit negotiations. Possibly the one that springs to mind is Bohemian Rhapsody. The producer of Queen, Ray Baker, said of Bohemian Rhapsody, it was absolutely crazy and insane, but we enjoyed it. But the only difference between that and Brexit is that Brexit also, like Bohemian Rhapsody, goes on forever, and it's totally insane. But I don't think it's enjoyable. I don't think there's anything enjoyable about it at all. But one person who's trying to enjoy himself is called Michael Fabricant, and this was his reaction to Charles Michel's speech. It just goes to show you how excitable some of these Brexit Tory MPs are. And as soon as they hear a word that sort of fires up their libido like climax, they immediately start tweeting sort of sexual innuendos. Like this, I would hate to see President Michel clutching his bottom with both hands, running around in circles and screaming, "I can't take any more of this." And it's my very good friend, Steve Pearce, who's a law professor, who usually tweets with very long but incisive analysis. He just limited himself to a few words about this tweet from Michael Fabricant. This man is an MP, and indeed he is. And there he is again. Don't tell Michael Fabricant he's wearing a wig. He'll get very upset. But I think it's important that our viewers understand that who is really behind the scenes controlling Boris Johnson and this whole process from the UK side. And it's, as we've said before, it's the Tory Brexit MPs in the House of Commons. And this is the man and people like him that Boris Johnson has to answer to. And I think when you understand how the mind of Michael Fabricant works, if you can, you'll understand what the problem is with the Brexit negotiations.
What's the thing with the funny hair, Roger?
Yes, it is. Seems to be one of the things that makes you popular these days in the Conservative Party. Boris Johnson has a bad hair day every day. I think he thinks it's a great way to grab attention, and that fellow Michael Fabricant has learned from Boris Johnson, or Boris Johnson has learned from Michael Fabricant. I think Boris Johnson's hair is real. I'd be the last person to claim that Michael Fabricant's hair is not real, a wig. And the last thing I want to suggest about Michael Fabricant is he's wearing a wig. Don't let me be the one who says that. But it's certainly attention grabbing. But I think, if I may, I think it's a good time to show you my T-shirt, because this was given to me by my very good friend Eric Joseph from Europe Now. Remain in the club, no Brexit. Can you see that? I mean,
yes, wonderful. I want to have the same T-shirt.
Yeah, I'll be accused of being a Ramona, but I think what people need to realize is that this T-shirt was not given to me by a British person. It was given to me by an Italian who wants Britain to stay in the club. So I can't be accused of being a Romola. I can just be accused of wearing a T-shirt given by those other Europeans from other parts of Europe, not the UK, who would really love the whole thing to be called off. And there is still time to call the whole thing off. I just make that observation. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think what will happen is that what we know what's going to happen is that there'll either be a deal or there'll be no deal. And it all lies in the hands of this man, who we see here holding a fish. And the reason I'm showing you him holding a fish is because, as we know, fishing is one of the sticking points in the negotiations. And Boris Johnson has said that he will get gunboats into the channel to protect the British fish. And he is taking a very hands-on approach to British fish. And you might think, well, why is President Macron, who get well soon, President Macron, we've just heard he's got COVID, we hope he's not too ill and he gets well soon. But you might say, why have we got a picture of President Macron smiling at the sight of a British gunship? And the answer is that I think President Macron knows what's coming next, because I don't know whether you remember this, but obviously the British gunboats can only protect the British fish if they know where the British fish are. And for that to happen, the fish have to be monitored. The movement of the fish and the fishing boats has to be monitored. And so the British government a few months ago issued a contract to a company for monitoring the fish and the fishing boats. And the license went to who else but a French firm last year.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be very, very amusing. And I think Macron is enjoying the joke, I hope, as much as our viewers are.
So, Roger, are these talks ever going to end?
Well, no, because whether there's a deal or no deal, people are going to have to keep talking. And I think the idea that we're going to see the back of Brexit on the 31st of December is fanciful, unfortunately. We will have to keep talking, but perhaps we can hear the B word less and less. I mean, the other thing that must have made President Macron smile was the statement by the British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab that what the EU are really worried about is that even after a no-deal Brexit, Britain is going to do fantastically well, and that the EU leaders, Charles Michel and Angela Merkel and Macron and everybody else this is what they're really worried about. This is why they're losing sleep at night. And it's obvious, isn't it? Of course. I mean, how come nobody has thought of that before? What a smart and perceptive observation. The only trouble is absolute rubbish. I mean, it reminds me of a scene in Monty Python, Lena, where I don't know if our viewers remember the...
Yeah, let me see. What kind of scene? Oh, the Black Knight.
On the left, who tried to block the path of King Arthur as he went on his way, and ends up losing his arms in a battle with King Arthur, who says, oh, it's just a scratch, and ends up losing his legs as well. And King Arthur goes on, and the Black Knight says, you coward, come back, I'll bite you to death. And this is really what Black Knight is really what Dominic Raab reminds me of. I mean, he's really lost all of his arguments, and yet he's still claiming that he's going to win this particular battle. And I think Donald Tusk summed it up very well in quoting the wonderful author of spy thrillers, John le Carré, who died this week. And he reminded us of what John Carré had said about the situation. I'm not just a Remainer, I'm a European through and through, and the rats taken over the ship. I'm afraid there's a lot of truth in what John le Carré said, and may he rest in peace.
Today is International Migrants Day. Is there anything you want to share with us? We need to know.
Yeah, I think it's a great day to remember, actually, the the work that Angela Merkel did and that has gone on in Germany over the last few years since Angela Merkel let 1 million migrants and refugees from the Syrian conflict come into Germany. And it's been a great success story. And in the last few years, the language and skills for the labour market, and it's made a tremendously positive impact overall on German economy and society. Sure, have been problems here and there, and some serious problems and challenges to face. But the overall picture is one that has been very, very positive. And I think that's recognised pretty widely in German society, and in particular by employers and by companies and people in the private sector, as well as, of course, by refugee organisations and civil society organisations. It's not perhaps been quite so welcomed by the Interior Minister, Horst Seehofer, who is a right-wing politician from the CSU. Unfortunately, Horst Seehofer, one of the things he'll be remembered for is the phrase, immigration is the mother of all problems. And I don't agree that immigration is a problem. I think immigration is a great opportunity. There are challenges, but it's also a great opportunity for Europe. And I think Angela Merkel thinks that too. And here she is giving Horst Seehofer us the stare. And at the time that Horst Seehofer made those remarks, there were a lot of funny comments made about it. One of them was that what Angela Merkel is saying to Horst Seehofer is, do you know, Horst, who the mother of all problems is? And he's saying back to her, no. And the answer is, your mother, Horst, your mother is the mother of all problems, not migration. And on International Migrants Day, we Europeans are going to be inviting Anila Noor, who is a refugee herself, and she's on the expert panel advising the European Union on its refugee and migration policy, to write a joint op-ed with me in Vox Europe, the excellent publication Vox Europe. And I think the important thing that you will see from what Anila is telling us here is that the key thing is for migrants and refugees to have a voice and to be empowered in order for things to change. And she says, I don't want people to simply hear what I have to say. I want them to think and feel about why I say it, why I have to say it. So I just point to that op-ed that we publish tomorrow on the occasion of International Migrants Day in Vox Europe.
Wonderful. Yeah. So if we come now to your darker side, who's on the naughty step, Roger?
It is a dark chapter of the naughty step, at least. But there's a darker side and there's a lighter side of the naughty step this week. So let's start with the darker side. I don't know if you've ever bought any clothes from this man. I don't think you should buy anything from this man at all. But he is a very successful fashion icon. He's from Finland and lives in Canada. It's a Finnish Canadian. His name is Peter Nygaard, who is with his flowing silver locks on the left, and over on the right you can see him with his good friend Prince Andrew going out for a beer and a pizza, and in the bottom right hand side you can see him in a nightclub with a lot of people who look like underage girls, and they are in fact underage girls. And his predilection for underage girls and his exploitation and grooming and abuse of sexual abuse of underage girls is what's rightly, but far too late in my view, landed him in trouble, and he's been arrested and is on trial in Canada. And so I think we definitely, he's earned his place on the dark side of the naughty step this week. This is again another serious structural problem. The Me Too movement has shown a lot of light on this, and here is another icon, fashion icon in this case, who has been caught up in this, rightly so, brought to justice. And let's hope that he is put in prison for the rest of his life for what he's done. here we talk about the exploitation of women, and that's why Peter Nygaard is on the naughty step, but Anne Hidalgo, who's the mayor of Paris, is on the naughty step for empowering women. And I don't think she should be there at all, and neither does she. But what has happened is apparently there is a French law which says that you have to promote men and women equally, and she's promoted more women than men in her administration. I rather suspect that the reason for that will be that the women have been better qualified and better suited for the job.
Oh wow, so this is a false naughty step.
Yeah. So she shouldn't have, but won't. It is. She's on the naughty step because she's been fined. She's been found guilty. She's been fined, but she's wearing it with pride. And I think that, you know, it's a nice problem to have, having more women than men on your team and your administration. I think sometimes these instruments can be rather blunt. You know, the point is not to have exactly the same number of men and women, but to have a threshold, which means that you can't have fewer women than men. But having more women on your top team than men, I think it's a nice problem to have. And if they're the best people, and I'm sure that that's why they've got the jobs. I don't think Joe Biden has made his entire communications team, when he moves into the White House, female because they're women. I think he's made them his top team because they're very good, and good luck to them. And so I think she wears it well. We'll take her off the naughty step straight away, I think.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you say this. And I also love a quote. I'm happy to announce we have been fined. So, yeah. We are coming to an end already. But before, I want to know, what was the standout event for you this week?
Well, thanks for asking that, Lena. And as you know, and as our viewers know, we've been doing a lot and asking our viewers to do a lot to stand with the women of Belarus. And we salute again their courage and their fearlessness in taking on this appalling, brutal regime, Lukashenko regime. And as you know, we gave Olga Zupilova and Ekaterina Zhizuk, who are members of New Europeans. Olga is near Minsk, and Ekaterina works with the Belarus diaspora, New European of the Year award this year, and they also won the Sakharov Human Rights Prize from the European Parliament. And so here they are receiving the Sakharov Prize, which the citation says to the Belarus opposition. But I just make the point, and Olga made this point to us, and I think she's right. They're not the opposition, they're the majority. All the independent polls have shown that they're the majority. And I think we should give them the respect of being the majority, not the opposition. They're the democratic majority in Belarus, and they're under the foot of a brutal regime, and we salute once again their courage, and we must all remember to stand with Belarus.
Yes, I do agree. So luckily it's not quite the last show this year, because what are we going to see each other on New Year's Eve, right?
Certainly are. So those of you that celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. In the meantime, I hope everybody has a good rest, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the 31st of December to wish you a Happy New Year.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.